Swargaloka, heaven. And then above Swargaloka, there's 4 more. Still within the universe that comes into creation and is destroyed. Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka, where Lord Brahma lives. Sometimes called Satyaloka. 7 upper, 7 lower planetary systems. And that's created and destroyed. It's called Devi Dham. Devi, goddess Durga, is in charge. And she's like in charge of the prison house. She's the prison warden, in charge of the prison house. And according to Brahma Samhita, Shristi Sati Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Jayeva Yasha Bhuvanadi Vivarti Durga. She has responsibility. It's through her potency that Shristi means creation, Stiti means maintenance, and Pralaya, destruction. She has her part. She's a potency, or she's the personification of a potency of the Supreme Lord for overseeing this material world. And that's just one, aside from this realm and the heavenly realm that good people are supposed to want to go to. There's beyond that, and beyond that, and beyond that, and beyond that. And that's just within Devi Dham. The Brahma Samhita teaches us Goloka Namni Nijadamni Tale Chatasya Devi Dham Maheshu Maheshdam Devi Maheshu Haritamasu Teshu above Maheshdam is Haridam. And Golokadam is above all of them. It's kind of revolutionary. But it's cosmology. There's the created cosmology, and then there's the eternal cosmology. So this realm of Maheshdam, it's above Devi Dham, but it's not yet in the realm of Haridam. It's not Vaikuntha, neither here nor there. It has its own status. We're going to hear something about Mahakala. It's a feature of Mahesh that is involved explicitly in the fire of destruction. One of the services that Lord Shiva does in creation is he destroys. It's a service. He's a service of the person who he's always in meditation upon. We find in Srimad Bhagavatam, he's always in meditation upon one of the forms of the Chaturvyuha. You know this from, there's a really nice section of Srimad Bhagavatam where Lord Shiva offers prayers to the Prachetas, the sons of Prachiti. It's the very same meditation. When he's in meditation, many times you see paintings or posters of Lord Shiva in meditation. What's he meditating on? He tells the Prachetas what he's meditating upon. He's meditating upon some stotras or prayers. And those prayers are to the forms of the Supreme Lord that deal with the principles of the spiritual and the material creation. The Lord that's in Vaikuntha. He's a worshipper of Lord. He's a Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. He's the best of all Vaishnavas. But one of those features in service to the Supreme Lord is he has an abode, one of his 4 different abodes. Common is Kailash. People that are worshippers of Lord Shiva, they know of that being his abode. It's in the heavenly realm. It's specifically the garden portion of Kubera's kingdom, because Kubera was an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva. And in worship of Lord Shiva offered him a benediction, as you please make your residence in this celestial garden within my kingdom. So I agree.
I hear someone's phone is on, somebody's talking, I'm able to concentrate. Radio or something is on.
I don't hear it. You have sensitive hearing.
Outside, that's coming from outside.
So that's one of his abodes, is Kailash, without going through the whole thing. There's another one, because I'm mentioning it now because it's going to come in the pastime of Krishna in Mathura, before he goes to Dwarka. But Krishna has an encounter with Kaliyavana, who received a benediction from Lord Shiva. We'll get to that story. That Kaliyavana had the fury of destruction of that form of Lord Shiva who resides in Mahakalapur. Maha means great, and Kala is time. The great time is destruction. So above Maheshdam is Haridam, and Haridam is eternal. Like the realm of Narayana. Yeah. Have a seat. Make yourself at home. Thanks for coming. We're going to talk about Krishna. We're getting ready to talk about Krishna, though. We're going to talk about what comes before Krishna is Lord Narayana in Vaikuntha. The Devidam, Maheshdam, Haridam, and according to Brahma Samhita and other portions of the Vedas, the topmost abode is Goloka Dham. Goloka Nami Nijadami Tale Chitasya. It's the topmost abode in cosmology, spiritual and form material, topmost realm. And earlier in Brahma Samhita it's described that the shape has a unique shape. Most planets are not exactly spherical, they're little oblong, like eggs, but round. But this Goloka is a different shape. It's shaped like a lotus. It has many petals. And inside the petals is the corolla. And the corolla is described directly. It's the abode of Radha Krishna. And the petals surrounding the abode of Radha Krishna are the abodes of the gopis, the principal gopis, and then there's megabytes and megabytes of gopis surrounding that central entourage of Krishna and Radha. And then the abodes of the other residents of Braja. So that central part is Braja. Then surrounding the lotus, there's another region. And that other region has different parts to it. And two of those different parts are Mathura and Dwarka. So once in a day of Brahma is a long period of time. 1,000 cycles of the four yugas. And the cycles of the four yugas is 432,000 times 10, or 4,320,000 times 4 yugas, and then 1 day of Brahma, and then a night of Brahma. That's a long time. Long time. Very long time. But once in that day of Brahma, once in the day of Brahma, Krishna appears in this created realm, in Devi Dham, and performs the same pastimes that he performs in Braja. And the other 999 yuga cycles, he doesn't show his pastimes in Braja, but he shows his pastimes in Mathura and Dwarka, same as in the Goloka realm. For that reason, the intimacy and the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan are especially known. You know, how recent was it? So, out of the 1,000 yuga cycles, it just happened that the Dwarpa Yuga, out of the 4,300,000 years, solar years, just happened 5,000 years ago. We're very fortunate. And so the pastimes of Krishna and Vrindavan are very well known and very popular. And commonly within ISKCON we speak about them. And in our Vedic literature. But I wanted to speak then about Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan. Specifically briefly his pastimes leading up to his establishing Dwarka. That's what we're talking about now. You'll find it in Krishna book. I'm just going to summarize the earlier part and then the part that leads into the transfer of the Yadu dynasty to Dwarka. That's our discussion this evening. This is pastimes that are, so now, some of those pastimes that Krishna performs here, they're just replicas of the spiritual realm. There's some portions of them that are different. Different in the sense they're called, in technical terms, Nitya Lila and Nimitika Lila, or occasional pastimes. Eternal pastimes and occasional pastimes. And that which is involved with demons, that's an occasional pastime. Or like, for example, Krishna's taking birth. Krishna's taking birth doesn't take place in Goloka. When I go like that, Goloka, that's, the upper, there's no birth past, there's no, Mother Yasoda is convinced Krishna's my son. But there's no birth pastime, so how is it Krishna's her son? It's her love. It's Madhurya, Vatsalya Rasa, parental affection. She just has that affection, and no one can convince Mother Yasoda Krishna's not your son, but where's the proof? Where's the birth certificate? What hospital was he born in? There's no pastime. But there's the bhava of Krishna's my son. And different in the earthly pastimes is Krishna appears as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki and transferred to the home of Nanda and Yashoda. There's a pastime. Similarly, there's no demons in the spiritual world. But there's the mood. Look out! Here comes Aristasura. There's no Aristasura. But someone, unknown person, comes running through Goloka. This is in Garga Samhita, saying, look out! Here comes Aristasura. And everyone goes, Krishna! Because that's the bhava, the transcendental emotion of taking deeper shelter of Krishna. So in this realm, in Vrindavan, there's demons. And then we're going to hear about Jarasandha and Kalyavan and other demons that don't exist in the Goloka realm. But there's the mood as if there was. So the fullness, point is, one of the points, the fullness of the pastimes of Krishna in this world is even more spectacular The bhava is the same, but the pastimes are very special in this realm. So from time to time, Krishna exhibits his pastimes in this realm for the pleasure of his devotees. They like his pastimes very much. And by our hearing his pastimes, we can also become devotees. This is what happens when you have a child. Sometimes we do that. So, we know the pastime of Krishna leaving Vrindavan. You know the pastime of Krishna leaving Vrindavan? Who takes Krishna from Vrindavan to go to Mathura? His name starts with an A. He comes in a chariot from Mathura, sent by Kamsa to bring Krishna to Mathura. His name is Akrura? Akrura? Okay, Akrura. His name is Akrura. Akrura is a member of the Yadu dynasty. So, you all know this one. When Mother Earth, in the form of a cow, went to the demigods, who went to Lord Brahma, who then went to the shore of the Milk Ocean, appealed to Lord Vishnu to descend on earth, to relieve the earth of the burden of demoniac kings. That was a mission. Lord Vishnu consented. And he told, in such a way that Brahma could hear, that then Brahma relayed this information to the demigods. Please have them take birth on earth first in the families of the Yadu, Bhoja, and Andaka dynasties. So they did. Expansions, partial expansions of them appeared on earth in the Yadu dynasty. So many of the members of the Yadu dynasty were partial expansions of the demigods. So the Yadu dynasty was ruling a huge tract of land, and Ugrasena was the king. Ugrasena was put in prison by his son, whose name was Kamsa. And Kamsa not only put Ugrasena, but Vasudeva and Devaki in prison. He was a bad man. Narada paid a visit to Kamsa's palace. Now Kamsa was a duskriti. Kriti means merit, and merit comes from piety, and duskriti means you use piety in a bad way. Sukriti means you use it in a good way. Duskriti means use it in a bad way. So when Narada came, he honored him. He's a Brahmana. And a Kshatriya honors a Brahmana, so he honored Narada very nicely. Narada said, "You please me very much. I want to tell you a secret. On their way here, the demigods were having a demigod conference. And they said, the 8th son of Devaki has already taken birth. That one that you heard the voice in the sky that says going to kill you, he's already taken birth. He was the son, the 8th child of Vasudeva and Devaki. And now he's over there in Braja." Kamsa said, "Thank you very much. I'm going to go kill Vasudeva because he lied to me." He said, "No. The problem is not with Vasudeva. He was just protecting the son. It's over there in Braja." "Thank you, Narada. You're very kind." So he started making the plan to kill Krishna. I mean, on top of his other plans to kill Krishna. And that was confirmed by Narada. So he sent 2 more demons, and he sent, in case that didn't work, he sent Akrura, who was a member of the Yadu dynasty, because when Kamsa put everybody in prison, he put Ugrasena and Vasudeva and Devaki. Many of the Yadu dynasty, they left. That was their capital, Mathura. They left because the wicked Kamsa, he could do anything at any time. but Akrura stayed. Because he knew that Krishna would soon appear in Vrindavan, and he wanted to see Krishna. He's a devotee. He wanted to see Krishna. So he hung around. He was a very expert minister. Kamsa sent him on the mission to bring Krishna to Mathura so he could kill him. Like, he's a devotee. Why is he going to bring Krishna? But he knows Krishna is the personality of Godhead. So he said, as your minister, I'll do what you want, but I also am obliged to tell you, you're inviting your own death. But fantastic, I want to see Krishna. I'll be glad to go. So he went, and he brought Krishna. And Krishna, when Krishna came, so now this is, Krishna's left Vrindavan, and Krishna's entering Mathura. It's a long narration, I'm going to make it very short. When Krishna enters Mathura, he encounters a washerman. You know that story? Kamsa had deployed a washerman to take care of his royal garments. Krishna, very politely, very nicely, requested the washerman for some garments, because when you enter Mathura, you can't wear cowherd boy garments, you have to wear city garments. And the washerman insulted Krishna, insulted the cowherd boys. So Krishna finished and just took the garments. And the cowherd boys, and himself and Balaram, and so forth. When he entered Mathura, this giant elephant Kuvalyapida, you're going to hear about him. Remember the name Kuvalyapida, you'll hear it again in about 10 minutes. A giant elephant as big as 10 elephants, huge guy. Krishna killed Kuvalyapida, took him by the trunk, slapped him to the ground, broke off his tusks, and started beating him and beating him and beating him with his own tusks. So he was dead. The elephants had big tusks. Balaram broke the other one off, and they went striding, 12-year-old boys, striding into the wrestling arena. And there was Chanur and Mushtaka. Krishna finished them, Balaram and Krishna. They had 3 brothers. They were finished, and then there was Kamsa. Kamsa was finished. Kamsa was so powerful. You'll hear again in 10 minutes how powerful is Kamsa. Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. One finished, not just knocked out, dead. Because Krishna is all powerful. So after Kamsa was killed, what the next thing that Krishna did? He went to the prison house of Kamsa, and he released Vasudeva and Devaki. And he released Ugrasena, 12-year-old boy, reinstalled Ugrasena as the king. And after Ugrasena became king, Krishna then invited all the members of the Yadu dynasty that had gone here and there out of fear of terrible Kamsa to come back and take up the residential places and assist Ugrasena in ruling the kingdom. Because he was the king. And he had so many assistants to help him rule the kingdom. And what was the next thing that Krishna did? Krishna then went with Balaram to pay their respects to Nanda Maharaj, because when Krishna, notice how many times I'm saying Krishna, it's like a different mantra. It's purified, just to hear Krishna's name again and again, along with his pastimes. So Krishna, when he came with Akrura, in Akrura's swift chariot, Nanda Maharaj came in a bullock cart to pay his annual taxes to the king. So Nanda Maharaj was there and saw the whole thing, killing of Kamsa, and installing of Ugrasena, and the Yadu dynasty members coming back. Some days had passed, and Krishna and Balaram spoke very sweetly. Little boys, 12-year-old boys, "Dear Nanda Maharaj, very soon, we had promised the residents of Vrindavan, very soon we're going to return and be with them once again. But there's some family members and things we need to do here. So very soon we'll return. Take some gifts back to the residents of Vrindavan with the kind words, 'Soon we will return.'" They're very much missing our presence. Please convey that message to them. Nanda Maharaj was a little reluctant, but he had such love for Krishna, he wanted to do what Krishna wanted him to do. So he went back. Next, what happened? This is Mathura Lila, pastimes of Krishna. He's 12 years old, and he hasn't had his Upanayana, his sacred thread ceremony. So Vasudeva and Devaki wanted very quickly for that to happen. So who performed that ceremony? Garga Muni. The same one that did the name giving for Krishna and Balaram did the Upanayana, gave the sacred thread to Krishna. This is worldly pastimes. It's a pastime. To give Garga Muni some service and Vasudeva and Devaki some service. And then it was time for school, so he took vows of brahmachari. To be a student, there's vows. You know, just Vedic culture, there's vows. So then it was time to decide what school. I'm fine right where I am.
Actually, you are.
I'm fine right where I am. Is this just a disturbance? I'm fine right where I am. You can leave it. Now that it's there, I'm fine right where I am. I'm very comfortable. Yeah, I'm just waiting for things to settle down. It was time to decide where to go to school. Krishna decided, not Vasudeva and Devaki, Krishna decided, because he's the personality of Godhead. And he appeared for a number of reasons. One of them was to show by example. That's what trained persons do. They don't need to do anything, but they show by example what to do. So Krishna knew he had to go to school, because here he is, he's 12 years old. How old are you? Yeah, 9. Anybody here that's 12? No. Can you imagine not going to school when you're 12 years old? Hard to imagine. Krishna was 12 years old because in the cowherd community, they don't need all that. They take up the family occupation. If they're doing agriculture, if they're doing cow protection. So Krishna started when he was 3, herding the calves. But when he comes to Mathura, Vasudeva and Devaki are thinking, gee, Krishna hasn't been to school yet. We have to send him to school. But Krishna wanted to go to school. Now, those of you that know your geography of India, Mathura is kind of in the northern, central, a little bit to the west, but northern central part of India. Krishna had just killed Kamsa. And with Kamsa he had a lot of allies, like buddies, political allies. So Krishna was concerned that if he goes to a known place to go to school, then Mathura will be unprotected, so he wanted to go to an unknown place. And he thought, Krishna, this is from our scriptures, Padma Purana specifically. He thought the best teacher would be Vyas, but Vyas understands the kind of personality God is, so he's not going to want to be my teacher. So we have to find somebody doesn't know that I'm the personality of God yet. So there was a very well-reputed teacher in Avantipur, which geographically is quite a distance away. Ujjain, know your geography? From Mathura to Ujjain is quite a trip. But Sandipani Muni was well known, and he was from Benares, and so he was a Shaivite Brahmana, not a Vaishnava Brahmana. But that was a disguise, actually. He was a devotee of Krishna. Krishna knew all these things. So Sandipani Muni was elected as the teacher. And Krishna and Balaram had taken the vows of brahmachari, so they didn't go with royal conveyance, they went barefoot, secretly, so people wouldn't know where they had gone. So the Mathura wouldn't be unprotected. Because they weren't going to be gone for long, because they learned everything at Sandipani Muni's school quickly. So we're going to hear some more tomorrow, I think, about his going to Sandipani Muni's school. And he learned everything quickly, and then he went back with royal conveyance in a chariot back to Mathura, a big celebration when he returned to Mathura. He wasn't gone for so long. And when he reached back in Mathura, his mind all the time is on the residents of Vrindavan, because those who have love for Krishna, their thoughts are with Krishna. And those who have thoughts with Krishna's thoughts is with them. So he got back to Mathura, and he sent Uddhava, who is another member of the Yadu dynasty, to go take a message to the residents of Vrindavan. See his mother and father, and the message for the gopis. That was another purpose too, for Uddhava to then see the quality of the love of the residents of Vrindavan. Uddhava spent some time. He came back carrying gifts from Nanda Maharaj to Ugrasena, the king of the Yadu dynasty. And Uddhava informed everybody, especially Krishna, what happened, what's going on in Vrindavan. They're missing you so much. They want you to come. That mood of love was conveyed. Then when Uddhava came back, what happened next? When he entered Mathura, one of the persons he was greeted by was a woman named Kubja. Kubja previously had been a hunchback. She was curved in 3 places. Just like in Ramayana, Mandara. So Kubja also was a hunchback, curved in 3 places. But she had such devotion for Krishna, she took the items, they were sandalwood paste and scented water and fragrances, meant for the king. She immediately gave them to Krishna and Balaram. So what did Krishna do? With his toe on her toes, and the same finger that he used to sever the head of the washerman, he placed it under her chin and made her straight. And she became very beautiful. And she requested Krishna's company. So Krishna said later, I have to take care of Kamsa first. So later, with Uddhava, they went to Kamsa's home and gave his association to Kubja. What happened next? This is Mathura pastimes. Krishna was concerned about his devotees, the Pandavas, because they had not so long ago, this is chronology, not so long ago, way over there in Hastinapur, they had lost their father. The father of the Pandavas was named Pandu. Pandu was dead. She was without a husband. The sages advised Kunti to go to take shelter in the capital city of Hastinapur. There was this hostility going on between the sons of Dhritarashtra and the sons of Pandu. Krishna knew. So he sent a messenger to go and stay there for several months. And who was that messenger? His name starts with an A. Same one. Akrura is really good. He sent Akrura. Akrura spent 3 months in Hastinapur checking everything out. Akrura came back reporting, bad situation, this and that, 3 months worth of direct experience. Interestingly, so here's Uddhava saying, Krishna, you should go to Vrindavan to satisfy the residents of Vrindavan. Being sent by Krishna, and Akrura, expert Akrura, sent to Hastinapur, you need to do something about the problem in Hastinapur. What happens next? Very interesting. Jiva Goswami says, as if that hadn't happened, suddenly Shukadeva Goswami starts narrating Krishna's earthly pastime of acting like a king that's going to fulfill the purpose of his appearance in this world, annihilating the demoniac kings that are overburdening the earth. So that's what happens next. Krishna is still in Mathura. And when Krishna killed Kamsa, Kamsa had 2 co-wives, or 2 queens. And their names were Asti and Prapti. And Asti and Prapti were given in marriage to Kamsa as a show of his prowess by Jarasandha. Now here's a little, this isn't in Krishna book, but it's the story of Jarasandha. And the story of Jarasandha was, he was the son of the king of Magadha. So his father was a very qualified king, unlike Jarasandha. And Brihadrath was his name. He had 2 queens who were both from Varanasi. And he was ruling nicely and everything was fine except no sons. And he became very disturbed because it was part of the duty of a king to produce the next heir to the throne. So he went into the forest to perform austerities. While he was in the forest, he, by circumstance, by providential arrangement, he met one great sage named Chanda Kaushika. And Chanda Kaushika appreciated his nice mood and his qualities of respect for Brahminical culture. And he felt sad for Brihadrath, so he made an arrangement. He gave him a fruit and said, I understand what your difficulty is. You give this fruit to your wife and you'll be able to conceive children. Or they will be able to conceive children. Brihadrath forgot to tell the sage that he had 2 queens. So when he got back, he took the fruit, cut it in half, gave half to one queen, half to the other queen, and when they gave birth, it was to a half its child. Each half a child. Brihadrath was shocked. What do you do with half a child? He didn't know what to do. So he had the 2 halves taken to the forest and left them in the forest. And finding the 2 halves of a child in the forest, a mystical Rakshasi named Jara, she thought, breakfast. And she took the 2 halves and went like that, and the child came alive. And so Jara, Sanda, the joining of the 2 halves of the child of Brihadrath by Jara. So she didn't she somehow didn't want to eat the little baby. So she took the little baby back to the king and presented Jara, the child, to the king. So in honor of Jara, he called his son Jarasandha. That's how he got his name. Jarasandha was invested with supernatural powers by Jara. And as he grew up, he became an ardent worshiper of Lord Shiva, so he was a very, very powerful personality. So one time this powerful king, as he matured, was off on a hunting expedition. What that meant was he had his armies and things, and he was hunting wild animals. So in the course of his hunting, he came across the elephant that he called Kuvalyapida, as big as 10 elephants, and he captured him alive. And he put big chains around his forelegs and big iron stakes in the ground to keep him while he went to go look for lions and tigers and other things. But Kuvalyapida was so strong, he just pulled the chains out of the ground and went running in a northerly direction. So the soldiers of Jarasandha followed, and Kuvalyapida ended up going to a place where Kamsa had a camp. Now, Garga Swami took this very long description of again and again and again and again. Kamsa had a program. He was so powerful, he would go himself defeat entire armies and entire kingdoms, leaving just the king standing on the battlefield, and then give them the choice, A or B. You either become subservient to me, or I'll kill you. Which would you rather do? So many persons became subservient to Kamsa, and that's how he consolidated his strength. So Kamsa was on one of those tours when Kuvalyapida went rushing in the direction of his camp and started terrorizing his camp. So Kamsa punched Kuvalyapida, smacked him to the ground, twirled him around and threw him several miles in the air, according to Garga Swami, several miles in the air. And he came in for a crash landing at the camp of Jarasandha. And Jarasandha saw Kuvalyapida coming in for a crash landing and said, I want to meet the person who did that. So he met Kamsa and said, I'm really impressed. And they're so impressed, I'll give you as a gift Kuvalyapida and my 2 daughters in marriage. Kamsa was honored. He accepted Asti and Prapti as his wife. And when Kamsa was killed, what did the 2 queens do? They're to be protected by their husband. They had no husband. They had no sons, apparently, so they went back to their father. He said, Daddy, take revenge. Told him the whole story. Krishna, this 12-year-old, he killed my husband, or our husband. Jarasandha became furious, took a vow, I'll destroy the entire Yadu dynasty and Krishna. Take a vow. So he gathered together huge armies. 23 Akshauhini divisions of soldiers. It's a big number. It comes to more than 5 million soldiers. The numbers are 21,870 soldiers riding elephants, same number riding chariots, 3 times that number riding horses, and 10 times that number, no, 2 times that number foot soldiers. A lot of, comes to 5,030,000. And with that massive army, he went charging to Mathura. This is a Mathura festival. Jarasandha's first attack. So when he reached outside of Mathura, the soldiers reported this to Krishna. And the Bhagavatam describes, Krishna then considered, what's the best way to deal with this fellow? This is a worldly pastime, because there's no demons in Goloka. But it's a worldly pastime. He's performing a worldly pastime. He's contemplating, like we might contemplate, what do I do next? Here's a difficulty. He's enjoying his pastime. So he considers some options. I could destroy the whole thing. I could destroy the army and leave Kamsa. I could or Jarasandha. I could destroy Jarasandha. The army will go home. He said, I'm going to just leave Jarasandha alive, destroy the entire army, because Jarasandha will come back and bring some more armies. And my appearance in this world was to destroy the demoniac kings, and it'll be a very convenient arrangement. Jarasandha will keep bringing so many demoniac people, and my purpose in appearing in this world will be fulfilled. And he considers like this. While he's making this contemplation, this is how the Lord's potencies work. When he has a desire, the Sanskrit term is ichha. So when living entities have ichha, that's a problem. Ichha, dvesha, samutena, tvandava, mohina, bharata. They come into this material world of duality. But when Krishna has an ichha, something else happens. 2 celestial chariots just descended because he had this desire. And with the celestial chariot came all of his celestial weapons for him, and two chariots, one for Balaram. And the Bhagavatam describes in detail these weapons of Krishna and Balaram personified. They have names. The cloud of devastation that Indra has at the time of devastation is what's that called? Samvartika. That's the name also of Balaram's flower. Samvartika. And sometimes when you see paintings of Balaram, on one hand he has a plow, on the other hand he has a pestle. It's used for agriculture. So that has a name too. And the club, Kumadaki, and Krishna's Sharanga bow, and everything was there to take care of all the arrangements for their battle. Ready to go. Yes, sir. Battle ready. Krishna turns to Balaram. This is a Mathura pastime. He says, my dear Balaram, you don't need any weapons to do anything. You can do whatever you want. You can bring universes into being and destroy universes. You don't need any weapons. But they're your devotees. You want to give them some service, you're kind to them. So let us fulfill the purpose that we've come into this world and destroy the demoniac kings. Let us go at once. Balaram agrees. They ascend their chariots very elegantly, and according to Hari Vamsa, describing the same pastime, Krishna got some bad advice, that it was a lila, from one of the ministers. You don't need a big army. Just take a handful of soldiers, a small number of soldiers. So Krishna goes out into the battlefield with Balaram and a small number of soldiers from the Yadu army. And there's this 5 million soldiers on the battlefield. Kamsa has never seen Krishna. Excuse me. Jarasandha has never seen Krishna. Just like lots of people hadn't seen Krishna, but they heard about Krishna. Rukmini, she heard about Krishna. Something else happened when she heard about Krishna. When Jarasandha heard about Krishna, it was empty. So when Krishna came onto the battlefield, he could recognize from the description he heard. But then he spoke bad things about Krishna. Essentially, keeping it short, he said, you're not Purushottama, you're Purushadama, the lowest among men. Because you killed your own relative, your grandfather, Kamsa. the Acharyas say, what did Kamsa do? He did so many heinous things. He doesn't say anything bad about Kamsa. He says something bad about Krishna. This is the nature of demoniac people. They don't take responsibility for their own wrongdoings. They find fault in what they see to be other wrongdoing. Krishna did what he did to Kamsa because Kamsa, in so many ways, attempted murder of so many people and did so many bad things. From the role of a Kshatriya, he was to be punished in that proper way. Another one is he said, you're just hidden. You left Mathura hiding in Vrindavan. You're a coward. And the third is you're not even a Kshatriya. So I don't want to fight you. But that one over there, Balaram, I'll fight with him. He challenges him, if you want to give up your life, come forward, we'll have some fight. Chivalrous words. Krishna gives it right back and says, only persons that are soon going to die speak crazy words like you and boast. A real hero shows by his own action, not by big, proud words. Stand and fight. Calls his bluff. So then, Jarasandha, with his 5 million, and that's a lot of soldiers, brings all of the soldiers surrounding Krishna and Balaram, because they're on a field, surrounding. And the ladies from Mathura, they're watching from the rooftop. They can't even see Krishna and Balaram anymore, because there's so many 5 million soldiers. And the hooves of the horses, raising the dust. It's a whole scene. So they're feeling great concern for the safety of Krishna. It's a worldly pastime. You don't need to worry about the safety of Krishna. So Krishna then starts to utilize his Sharanga bow. Sharanga is it's a mystical bow. It's Krishna's bow. And the description in the Bhagavatam is, the movement of Sharanga was like a firebrand. You know what the firebrand is? Supposing you have a stick that's burning, and you move it in a circular motion very, very fast. It looks like a circle of fire. So the movement of the arrows from Sharanga, we can only do so many at a time. But Krishna's capacity wasn't limited like that. Very, 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 like whatever you might say, a rapid fire machine gun or something, but even faster than that because it's non-stop. Now the Bhagavatam, the Acharyas in the Bhagavatam, give us this history of Sharanga. Sharanga was a bow that was originally created by Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma made a bow for Lord Shiva, and he made a bow for Lord Vishnu. And Brahma wanted very much to see who's the better bowman, Lord Shiva or Lord Vishnu. So he instigated something between them, and they had some battle. And the battle was so intense, the whole universe was disturbed. But finally, Krishna with his Sharanga bow, he stunned, like paralyzed, Lord Shiva. So Lord Brahma came with the demigods and pleaded with them, please stop. Lord Vishnu is the victor, because you became paralyzed. So Lord Shiva's bow, he decided to give it to an ancestor of King Janak. He relinquished his bow. Pinaka is the name of the bow. So then it was later handed down, Pinaka was handed down to Janak, and Lord Ramachandra broke the bow. That's the end of Pinaka, Lord Shiva's bow. But an equal of size bow was given to Krishna. And what did Krishna do with his bow? Before the pastimes of Krishna were completed, Vishnu he gave the bow to Varuna. Later, Varuna gave that same bow to Krishna in the pastime in the Kandava forest. When Mayadanava was in trouble and Krishna was asked to help. Anyway, Indra wanted his help. So Varuna gave the bow Sharanga to Krishna. Before Krishna completed his pastimes, he gave that Sharanga bow back to Varuna by discarding it into the ocean. That's where Sharanga bow is. So Krishna had his Sharanga bow and was moving so fast that this 5,030,000 soldiers resulted in literally a river of blood and corpses, and Balaram with his club also beating and beating and beating. The description is the river was overflowing, leaving only one person left on the battle. None of Krishna's Yadu dynasty soldiers were harmed, and the entire 5 million soldiers of Jarasandha were destroyed, except for one person, Jarasandha. Balaram pounced on him, grabbed him, and tied him up with ropes. And Krishna came along and said, let him go home. So, terribly humiliated. There's the saying, a man who was once honored, dishonor is worse than death. You've heard that one before? So being dishonored, Jarasandha decided, I don't even want to go back to be a king anymore. I should just go to the forest and do my studies. It's too humiliating. But on his travel back to Magadha, some other kings came in and said, no, it's not like that. You fought valiantly, you did your best. And one who has karma, they gave him a karma talk. It may have been your karma, it's destiny that you were to lose, but you fought valiantly and you should continue being a king. Instead, why don't you get another army together and fight valiantly again? So when he got back to Magadha, he decided, okay, I'll get another army together. So in the same number, 23 Akshalhini divisions, the same thing happened 17 times. 17 times 5. 85. 85 million soldiers were brought to Mathura for Krishna to fulfill his purpose of appearing in this world, ridding the earth of demoniac personalities and demoniac kings, because great generals and heroes of demoniac forces. Krishna was very content with that function being fulfilled. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, there was another king around the same time that Jarasandha was active, named Kalyavana. Bhagavatam describes that Kalyavana was from a kingdom. Magadha is now the state of Bihar. So where Bihar is and where Mathura is, you can picture that in India's geography. Kalyavana was the king of the Yavana group, it didn't say where, but south of Mathura somewhere. And Kalyavana became Kalyavana, according to Garga Samhita, in the following way. Garga Muni had a son, and his son, the name of his son was Gargya, means the son of Gargi. So Gargya, a young Brahmana, was insulted. He was insulted by some members of the Yadu dynasty that were teasing him or criticizing him as a eunuch. So he wanted to take revenge. He's a Brahmana, to take revenge is not the right mood of a Brahmana, but that's what he did. So he went to the forest, and for 20 years he worshipped Lord Shiva in a very severe austerity. As his food, winters he only ate ground up iron powder. Yummy. For his diet. Lord Shiva appeared. What benediction are you wanting? I'd like to have as a son one who will give trouble and difficulty to the Yadu dynasty because they've given me difficulty. So the benediction was given to Gargya. So the king of the Yavana dynasty had heard of this benediction given to Gargya. He was unable to produce children. He invited Gargya to produce a child with his wife, the queen. The child that was born was Kalyavana, who had the fury of Lord Shiva at the time of devastation. That's this Mahakala. An intense young boy growing up, and he couldn't find anybody that was his equal in fighting. One time Narada visited his kingdom. Narada kind of gets around. So he visited Kalyavana's kingdom, and Kalyavana wanted to know who is the most powerful rulers on earth. Narada said, for sure, there's only one, it's the Yadu dynasty. And best of all of them is Krishna. It's true. So Kalyavana was very encouraged. Very well, I'm going to go and have a battle with the Yadu dynasty and Krishna. So he went marching with all of his soldiers to Mathura from the south. At the same time, shortly thereafter, Jarasandha was coming from the east with his 18th time with his 23 actually divisions of soldiers. Now, what's Krishna going to do? He's already shown 18 times what he can do. With practically single-handedly, he and Balaram. So he could easily have destroyed the entire army of both. But what did he do? He, a vow, or a benediction rather, was given by Lord Shiva to Kalyavana. So Krishna is not going to disrupt the benediction of Lord Shiva. So what did Krishna do? When Kalyavana arrived, he told Balaram, I'm concerned about the safety of the Yadu dynasty. With these two armies coming, somebody may get hurt. So you stay here. I'm going to make an arrangement to situate the entire Yadu dynasty in a city that hasn't been built yet, Dwarka. And he engaged Vishwakarma, who, according to Krishna's design, built a city of 95 miles in circumference and out in the sea. So it started with a big wall and then big forts inside that wall. And very quickly it was established according to Krishna's plan. And I think there's the description of Krishna's planned city. You know, it's a city planner too, all skills. In short, very tall buildings, almost all of them several stories tall, and wide lanes, and then by the side of wide lanes were narrow lanes, and large parks and large lakes and palatial buildings and celestial trees and birds and gardens and, you know, really good urban things. And as soon as the construction was done, which was very quick, in the middle of the night, while they were asleep, Krishna transported the entire Yadu dynasty to Dwarka, and they woke up in the morning, wow, look where we are. Just share this with you. I travel a lot, and one of the things I got used to is when I wake up in the morning, the first thing is I have to figure out where I am. You know, and where's the light switch? And, so they woke up and they didn't know where they were. It's a new place. So then Krishna returned back to Mathura. Dwarka is built, but Krishna doesn't reside there yet. And he came back to Mathura wearing not armor, because when he went out to fight with Jarasandha, he was with full armor, but now he's without armor. He was without any weapons, just his clothing and crown. And he saw Kalyavana. Now, Kalyavana asked about Krishna, who is the best warriors, and Krishna is the best. What does he look like? So similarly, he heard about Krishna. He hadn't seen Krishna, but just seeing Krishna, what was his reaction? I want to have battle with him. So Krishna knew his spirit, and Krishna had given this benediction, he was upholding the benediction of Lord Shiva, so he didn't want to violate it, and Krishna wanted to give some service to his devotee, Muchukunda. You heard of Muchukunda? Muchukunda? Any of you? We're going to hear some about Muchukunda. So, Krishna ran from the battlefield. And in the codes of conduct for warriors, you don't run from the battlefield. You stand and fight. And if you die in the battlefield, you go to heaven. And if you win on the battlefield, you win the kingdom. But in either case, you win, you lose, you win. But you don't run from the battlefield. But he ran from the battlefield. And he ran purposefully, just fast enough that Kalyavana would keep chasing him. He didn't run too fast. So just beyond the reach. Because he was a contaminated person, Krishna didn't want him to touch him. So Kalyavana tried to run faster. So Krishna ran a little faster. Just beyond his reach. And the place they went to, Krishna was drawing him to the cave of where Muchukunda was. Because he wanted to give Muchukunda some service. And the place, Jiva Goswami says, in his commentary on this section, is just over the border in Rajasthan. There's a mountain, because there's no mountain in the Vrindavan area other than Govardhan Hill and Nandagram and Varsan. There's no other mountains. So it was in Rajasthan. And there's a cave where Muchukunda was. And because where Vrindavan is, you keep going a little bit. Nandagram, so a little bit further, there's Vrindakund. Some of you have been to Vrindavan? Place where Dinabandhu has a little temple at Vrindakund. Practically you're at the Rajasthan border. A little distance further, you're in Rajasthan. But it's in Rajasthan, this mountain where Muchukunda's cave was. And Krishna's running. Kalyavana is chasing him. Calling him bad names. Why are you running? What kind of Kshatriya are you? I was told you're the best of warriors. Why are you running? Stand and fight. Krishna kept running. And Krishna entered into the cave where Muchukunda was. And when Kalyavana entered the cave, he saw somebody lying on the ground. Now it's dark in a cave. Krishna had withdrawn his effulgence purposefully. Later he shows his effulgence. But he had withdrawn his effulgence and was hiding. And Kalyavana saw somebody lying on the ground and he thought, oh, he's tired, he's been running too much. So with full force, full fury, he kicked this figure that was lying on the ground. And it was King Muchukunda. And King Muchukunda became startled. He'd been sleeping a long time. You'll hear how long time. And when he opened his eyes, fire came out of his eyes, and in a second, the body of Kalyavana was burned to ashes, just a heap of ashes in the middle of the cave. And then Krishna decided to show himself to King Muchukunda. there's this wonderful dialogue between the two. I'll just keep it short. Kalyavana had been asleep a long time. When you are suddenly startled, awakened after a long, deep sleep, everything isn't working properly yet, right away. He was looking at Krishna, trying to understand who he was. He said, how did you even get into this cave? Because it's not even easy to get into the cave. And who are you? You have 4 arms. Does this mean you're the personality of Godhead? Or are you some demigod? Or some representative of the demigods? And your features are so beautiful and attractive. You must be a very elevated personality. Can you tell me, what is your family? What is your occupation? And where do you come from? And then there was silence, so then he realized I better say who I am, because it's not proper you ask somebody who they are without saying who you are. So he identified himself. I am a member of the Ikshvaku dynasty and the son of Mandata. And who are you? And Krishna said, I'm the son of Anakundundubi. That's another name of Vasudeva. And I've appeared in the dynasty of Yadu's clan. And this pile of ashes over here, that was Kalyavana. And you, in your previous life, you were my devotee. It discloses his divinity. These are the worldly parts of my identity. But in your previous lifetime, you worshipped me and had very strong desire to see me. And so I've made this arrangement to give you some service of finishing Kalyavana, and now you can see me to your heart's content. I've come before you for that reason. Then Muchukunda starts telling his story. And it's a story, first it starts with the story of humility. This long description of a person who, as a king, is involved in strength and kingdom and power and expanding the kingdom and becoming recognized not only in this world. He was recognized in the heavenly planets as a very powerful warrior. King Indra had invited him when the Devatas were in difficulty from the Daityas, the demons. He was invited to come to the heavenly region to assist them in protecting the demigods. He was such a powerful king. And the detail, Jiva Goswami gives this detail. This was in the first of the yuga cycles of Vaivasvata Manu. So, for those of you that are not so familiar, I mentioned Lord Brahma, there's 1,000 yuga cycles. In those 1,000 yuga cycles, there are 14 Manus. We're presently in Manu number 7, or Vaivasvata Manu. And this is the 28th, Krishna appears in the 28th cycle of yugas during the reign of Vaivasvata Manu. So, Muchukunda had been a devotee of Krishna during the first of those 28 yuga cycles. He had fought for a long, long time in the heavenly realms, while on this realm, the cycles of the 4 yugas had passed. And it was a non-stop battle. Kartikeya, this is now Muchukunda describing all of this to Krishna. Kartikeya relieved me of that obligation to King Indra. Kartikeya said, you've done a really good job. You may go back to earth now, but please know, 4 yuga cycles have passed. You go back, and you won't even find your palace anymore, it's gone. What to speak of your family members or your kingdom or anything. Time destroys everything. So you can go back, but don't expect it to look like it was when you left. But you've assisted us so devotedly, we want to give you whatever benediction you like. What would you like? So he asked for the benediction. I'm really tired. I just like to rest. And I have received this message from the sacred astrologer Gargamuni. So apparently this Gargamuni's name, different qualified persons have that same name in different cycles of the 4 yugas. He said, during the 28th yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manu, you will see Krishna, and here's what he looks like. So just by hearing from Gargamuni about Krishna, he became this devotee. And he wanted to see Krishna. So he said, I'd like to rest for a long time. 27 yuga cycles is a long time. And whoever wakes me, I don't want the demigods to come and bother me to do more battle for them. Whoever wakes me, from my eyes will come fire and they'll burn to ashes. It was a kind of not very nice benediction for a Vaishnava to ask for the Kartikeya, but it was given. It was so he wouldn't be disturbed. So Krishna knew all this because he's omniscient. That's why he brought Kalyavana there, so Muchikunda could use his benediction and finish Kalyavana and do some nice service. And then stand before him and give his darshan. So he said, I was one of those kings that just had fruitive desires. No, we're not kings, but we all have fruitive desire. And he describes the futility. There's no happiness there. I had accumulated so much power and so much fame and so much this and so much that, but there was no happiness. All the while I was hankering for your association, or your darshan, and now by the kindness of Gargamuni, I'm now seeing you. Because Gargamuni described Krishna. So from the Srimad Bhagavatam we have, just like we're doing right now, descriptions of Krishna. It's the kindness of our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, for the whole world. They can hear descriptions of Krishna. Although they haven't seen Krishna, but in cultures and in languages and continents all over the world, they can, same thing as what happened with Muchikunda. To hear about Krishna, become a lifelong devotee of Krishna just by hearing about him. I'm going to put that thought on pause and come back. And just share this. Later this month, in the month of January every year, we have a temple president and GBC meeting, and I'm being asked to share a little video of the ISKCON 50 celebration that took place in China. 800 devotees came for a function where it's against the law to have more than 500, and 800 came and broke the law. And it's a fantastic video of the exhibition of their attraction for Krishna, not because they're non-resident Indians living in China, but because Krishna's in their heart. And hearing Krishna's name and hearing Krishna's pastimes awakens love for Krishna, just by hearing about him. A little more sharing is there's two, they had, in the concluding days of this, concluding evening of this gathering, ISKCON 50 celebration, there were multiple exhibitions by the Chinese devotees of their traditional music, or their traditional dance, or something. Like one lady came out on the stage with one of those instruments that's like 8 feet long, and it sits on stanchions, and it has 80-something strings, and they have these long things on her fingers. She studied it for 15 years as a little girl. Now she's a young woman, and she's playing traditional Chinese music that they all know the melodies for, and then just added the Hare Krishna mantra, and everyone was crying. It was so beautiful. I don't know their traditional songs. It was so beautiful. Then another girl, a teenage girl, if I showed you this video, every time I play it, honestly, it just brings tears. It's a 14-year-old girl with somebody playing from a music box, literally, some traditional melody, and she's just honoring Prabhupada in Chinese. With some other girls doing choreography, dressed in little Chinese costumes. They have some of the same mudras as, Bharatanatyam dancers and so forth, but it's heart melting. And then, one of the most amazing things was in Chinese, using traditional Chinese melodies, they portrayed the pearl pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami. So some of you may know what that is. It's Krishna grows pearls from a pearl tree to decorate the cows of Nanda Maharaj. It's an amazing, very, very sweet and beautiful story. They know the story, and they portray the story singing, there's Krishna, it's one Mataji dressed as Krishna, one Mataji dressed as Radharani, using traditional Chinese melodies, saying, Radharani comes on the front of the stage and says bad things about Krishna, and shakes her finger, and Krishna comes on the stage with his hands on his hips and says bad things about Radharani and the gopis. In traditional Chinese melody, I don't know what they were saying because they didn't have the words, but it's so powerful because it's their tradition of music and culture with Krishna at the center, and it stirs attraction for Krishna from the heart. Very nice, very nice. So, this hearing about Krishna activity, which Mukunda did 27 yuga cycles ago from Gargamuni, had made that impression in his heart that when he saw Krishna, he didn't right away recognize Krishna because he was in this mood of anger, having been woken. So when anger colors our vision, we can't see properly. Same when Jambavan saw Krishna in a cave. He didn't see Krishna properly. All he was his devotee. Because he was in this protect my family mood. Anger clouds one's vision. But when Krishna disclosed his identity in the way that he did, that anger was gone, and he could see Krishna as he had the desire long, long ago, from just hearing about Krishna. That's our opportunity also. Just hear about Krishna, which is what I'm attempting to do this evening. So after this wonderful exchange, Krishna said, what benediction would you like? He said, I don't need anything. Seeing you as the benediction is good enough. Let me just always be engaged in your service. Let me always have the association of your devotees, because they'll remind me of you. And let me always have a favorable regard for all living entities. That's the benediction. Krishna said, so be it. And he left the cave. And then what happened? One final pastime in Mathura. Krishna went back on the battlefield. Jarasandha had recognized him because they had done battle 17 times before. So immediately started chasing after Krishna. What did Krishna do? He ran from the battlefield again. And Balaram ran with him. And Jarasandha thought, they're afraid of me. After he was destroyed 17 times, they're afraid of me. So Krishna ran up the side of a mountain, very tall mountain, 10 yojanas tall, that's 80 miles. You know any mountain that's 80 miles tall? And we just, through it to come here. It was 36,000 feet. That's some number of miles. So